I was talking with a friend of mine a little while ago, and he said, he cruised all around, went into cooler waters, nothing. He found a spot that had he said 57 it was. He caught his limit. I think he lost one at the boat. So he had 2, but he caught his limit.
Hello and welcome back to the Fat Dad Fishing Show. I'm your host, Rich Natoli, and tonight we're kicking it back to 2022. This is one of those episodes that's in the archives, no longer online, so we're putting it back. This is the flounder season kickoff for 2022. It's back in the days where I had John Creeley and Ed Gobo as co-hosts, so it's a lot different. It's a different format. Wasn't quite as polished, not that it's polished now, but not quite as polished as it is today. But the information was good, it's applicable, it applies today for everyone. And as we roll into the Memorial Day weekend, why not kick back and get a little bit more information on fluke fishing? So I've dusted it off, I've put it back online. Enjoy this episode, kick back, relax, and take it all in. Hello everyone, welcome to the Fat Dad Fishing Show. My name is Rich, I'm the host of this show. And tonight we've got both of our normal hosts on tonight, so let's bring them on right away. We've got Ed, owner of Captain Hank's Tackle. How you doing, Ed?
What's up? I'm tired.
I'm exhausted. And then we have John Creeley, the owner of Creeley Custom Rods. John, how you
doing? Could be doing a lot better, actually. So.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, the truck decided to break a wheel stud on the way home from work, and got it home and found a busted CV axle and a bad wheel bearing. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's no good.
On the bright side, your new wheel bearing will come with new studs. So
yes. Yeah, there is that.
Yeah, that's really the bright side. Well, everybody, welcome to the show. So tonight we're going to go through, it's just going to be the three of us. We're going to go through just a little preseason, or now it's season kickoff, because the flounder season is now open in New York, New Jersey. Delaware never closes. They're nuts down there. They just leave everything open. I guess it's just easier. But Ed and I actually made it out on the water today, and we have a lot of lessons learned.
It was a learning experience.
Yeah, we could go through a lot of that, but really this is just all about preparing for a longer extended flounder season in New Jersey. New York already had a longer one, but I think it started a week earlier than it did even last year. So it started on the 1st, and then today the 2nd, it started in New Jersey. And again, as I mentioned, Delaware is always open. I'm not sure. I think Connecticut is the same as New York. I'm not 100% sure, but Fluke are there. I mean, Ed, we'll get into what happened today, but we can verify the Fluke are in.
They're here. Today was a weird day. Very weird.
Yeah. It was difficult. You know what today was? Today was a grind, and it was a lot of stuff didn't go right, but it was still a decent day, on the water. I feel stupid even complaining about it. Hey, the winds didn't come from the right direction, guys. What a shock. And the forecast that said it was going to be 0 to 3, dead wrong. And then Navionics, which I love. Anybody who's ever watched one of my videos knows I love Navionics. Dead wrong for where we were. Dead wrong. And I just did last night the community updates on my Navionics card for the first time in 2 years, and it was different than the last time I was through that area, but I'd never been all the way back where we were, and it was not even close. As you mentioned, Ed, where it's supposed to be 2 feet, how deep was it?
It was like 12, and then there were like 20 footholes. I even downloaded, I have Navionics on my phone, so I'm sitting in the kayak, I'm downloading the newest maps to Navionics, as we're out there, and they're still... They should probably send a boat through there. But
that's what you were doing? I thought you were watching porn or something, because it was difficult.
Been more satisfying, honestly.
It's a difficult day out there. John, you didn't miss a ton. It was me, Ed, and Ray B went out. Mike unfortunately couldn't make it. He had something come up, so hopefully we'll get out on the water with him. But it was a day. It was a difficult day. It was a grind. We caught fish, caught keepers, but it wasn't one of those banner days that you hope to just kick the season off with. It was just tough, and everybody around us was just, and I'll say this. I've never been around. I don't typically fish near a lot of boats, right? And in this case, we decided it's spring, so we wanted to adjust our approach. It's early spring, and I fished for flounder in early spring just to kind of scout it out, knowing that I couldn't keep anything. And there's a little bit more pressure when you can, and it's actually open day. So we decided we're going to hit the flats. We're going to go in the shallower waters. We're going to focus between 4 and 8 feet. And actually, that was the right depth for a lot of it. There were some caught down as deep as 12, but all the people out there, everyone was talking. Everyone was cool. Everyone was, how's it going? Yeah, here's what I'm doing. And nobody was getting a consistent bite. Not even the guides, the local guides.
Yeah, that was a first for me. A lot of those guys were really, really cool. But it was definitely a learning day. Like we learned some new spots. I learned not to eat power bars for lunch. No good. I need to clean out my drive hatch. There was some good learning. A lot of learning happened today for sure.
Yeah. So, well, let's talk about some of the things that look, we can just do a regular flounder kickoff, but I don't necessarily want to do that because for a lot of people, it's a different type of season. It's a different type of weather. Mid-spring fishing for flounder is not something, especially in New Jersey, which is where most of our viewers are from. You just didn't do it. You had to wait until May 22nd or May 27th, something like that.
It always used to be the third Friday in May. So it's like the 18th, 20th, 22nd, whatever that Friday falls on. It's always been that. So
yeah, we're almost a month early. So it's all new for us,
which is great. I mean, whatever you think about the regs, it doesn't matter right now. All that matters is we have this season, and the thought that these flounder were not there is absolutely false. I mean, there were plus 20 inchers that were pulled in, not a lot. You'd go a half an hour with 10 boats and nobody would catch anything. And then somebody would pull in a 20, somebody would pull in a 15. But there were a lot of fish there, and there were a lot of bites that we didn't connect on. But the water temperatures, man, when we got there, Ed's like, don't wear the dry suit. And I was like, I probably don't need to. So, I went barefoot to launch, 52 degrees. So it was a little chilly. By the end of the day, when the sun finally came out, hours after it was forecasted to, the water was just under 60 degrees. So
I don't even think it got that high. Mine was reading like 54, 55 at the highest.
Yeah. So yours is always way different than mine. And I'm going with mine simply because Ray was only 0.2 higher than mine.
Be wrong.
And I checked on one of those sites, water temperatures today. And it said it said it was 58. So who knows? But I'll tell you what, the 52 was, according to one of the captains in the area, who said, it dropped 3 degrees after that rain last night. He was out in the same exact spot. And that thunderstorm that rolled through up here in Pennsylvania, it rolled through at just before 4 a.m. at my house, which is why I got up that early and just left. I was like, well, I'm not going to go back to bed. I may as well just leave. So I got in the truck and just headed down. But it dropped that water temperature. And these flounder, I mean, the summer flounder, they prefer the highest salinity, but where we were, it doesn't matter. We were so close to the inlet that the salinity wasn't going to get impacted by, those storms. But man, it turned off the bite. And they were biting in that exact spot yesterday and the day before. They were throwing back last year limits of, 3, 4, 5 over 18. They were throwing back because they couldn't keep them. And then these same guys are out there and they're not, they're struggling to put together anything.
Yeah. I think water temp today was the big killer. I mean, the wind, we got some good drifts through, even though the wind was not in our favor at all. We still managed. I was talking with a friend of mine a little while ago, and he said, he cruised all around, went into cooler waters, nothing. He found a spot that had like, he said 57 it was.
Yeah.
And he had, he caught his limit. I think he lost one at the boat. So he had 2, but he caught his limit.
Yeah.
So
I mean, it was about finding the temperature.
Mm-hmm. I think if we would have had another tide cycle, like if it would have rained and then we had a tide cycle and then went out, I think tomorrow is probably going to be a much better day.
Yeah, I would agree, especially for that area. And just to kind of frame it out for people, we were looking flats, so shallow sounds. I'm not going to tell you exactly where we were, but it's the shallow sounds of South Jersey, where the water is going to be anywhere from 2 feet up to 8 to 10 feet. Now, this one actually had holes down to 20, but for the most part, the deepest trenches that were in there, and they were like trenches or small channels, they were about 12 feet, and they were, a few hundred yards long. And the boats were stuck drifting in the middle of that. Although the ones with the trolling motors they were going right up and fishing the drop-offs like we were. I didn't catch anything that wasn't on a drop-off on a depth change. I didn't catch anything on a flat area. So we were just kind of edging up into the 2 to 4 feet, and we were letting that wind and current take us down into the deep. And then it was so narrow, though. We just kind of went across the deep part and back up the other side, seeing if we could get something on the rise. But the boats were definitely a little bit more restricted in where they could go. And some of them were just going straight down the middle the whole time. And they were the least successful, just going straight down the middle.
And then the other thing I noticed too, it seemed like the bite was more frequent on natural bait. Anytime I saw a boat pull a flounder over, a couple seconds later you hear a live well lid slam and you see the line go back over the side. So I think today was a live bait day and not a gulp and jig head type day.
Yeah. None of us had live bait or dead baits. We just had all artificial. And the interesting thing is I only used Gulp. The only Gulp that worked were those little, what are they called? The pink. They look like bubble gum, the shads. They're not paddle tails, the grub tail.
Oh, the swimming mullets.
Swimming mullets, yes. The smallest ones. Those were the pink ones. That's the only thing I caught anything on today. And I think I caught 7 or I remember 6, and I know I caught a couple more than that. And the one keeper that I did end up getting was on that, but not a touch on anything else. Not a touch. John, so early season, I know you haven't been able to go out yet. Obviously, it's just day one. Yeah. What are you going to be doing with your tactics in the backwaters?
I'm going to wait for an incoming tide. I'd rather fish an incoming. You're going to get that warmer water. If you're fishing south, at least, you're going to get warmer water being pushed in from the inlet. Probably fish the shallows like you guys were, anywhere from 2 to 10 feet, looking for the drop-offs. Because last year, if I recall, we didn't have too much success in the early season fishing the shallower waters. And I want to say that was maybe Memorial Day. And
yeah,
I think the water temps were right around the same as they are right now. And
last year was weird, but we didn't fish so much the flat, because where we were, it was basically a 3-mile pedal to get to the closest decent sound.
Okay.
Yeah, so we were fishing the shallows along those channels, and that was difficult last year.
Yeah, and I think but it seemed that we found those fish in deeper water last year, even with the same water temperatures that we have right now. So I don't know how I'm going to approach this year. I have to get out at least once and then determine how I'm going to tackle it the next time. That's
for me last year. I didn't really fish with you guys too much. I think it was towards the end of the year last year. I didn't start getting into quality fish until like June, and it was more, and they were shallow, 6 to 8 feet. And then once that water, because it seemed like it took forever for the water temps to come up. Once they finally came up, it was game on. They were everywhere, but until then, it was real shallow.
Yeah, I usually take the approach that when it's the cold water. Now, first, John, I would say if you want to fish the warmer water, it should be outgoing.
Should.
You're going to get the warmer water coming off the flats, and that's where we had a 5-degree difference today on the outgoing. I guess we got out of there. We had to leave actually so that we could get back. I had to leave so I could get back in time for this, which was a little disappointing because I would have felt I was feeling like this evening probably would have been a good time to be fishing for some flounder down there. But
I'll tell you what, though, when I got out of the kayak and saw you and Ray fighting that current, I'm like, nope, I'm glad I got out. I'm done.
well, I wasn't really
At the
fighting
launch.
the current. The current wasn't that bad. My problem was I was trying to put shoes on because I didn't want to sink into that stinky mud.
Yeah, that was gross.
It did not smell good. It did not smell good.
So, yeah, I mean, I've seen a lot of stuff today. I mean, there were some boats that were guided boats in the back, and they said they slammed it on the incoming. And me
Where?
personally, down in the High Roller, I think did pretty well, which is a back bay boat.
Yeah.
That's up north. That's up here, though.
Yeah.
So
We were south today.
what's funny is that all the guys that we talked to have been hitting it on the outgoing.
Yeah.
So, but to finish my point from before, so I'm typically gonna, where I'd mentioned, typically you'll get the warmer on the outgoing, and the further those shallow flats and sounds are from the inlets, the longer it's going to take for that to get actually out. We were actually in the sound, and it still took a couple hours of outgoing before we started to see the temperatures start rising, and then they shot up.
Yeah.
And that's actually when I ended up getting the keeper, and Ray was hitting a lot of shorts at that point, but we were really just kind of drifting out so that we could head back. But the other thing is you can look at really deep areas because it's a more consistent temperature. So, and there was actually a comment in here from Ashen, only keeper was 20-inch, came at 25 feet of water. You can definitely get them in the 25 feet of water. The question is, how active are they going to be? And
Yeah, I think with
58
those water
degrees is not ideal.
Those temps, you got to knock them on the head to get them to bite.
Yeah, for me personally, when they hit 60, I'm going to feel better about. Now, if it were last year with the later start, I would want it to be higher. But look, at the end of the day, even though we didn't come out with a ton of really great fish, there was a lot of activity and people were hooking up, and there's definitely a lot of fish back there. So I think it's a good sign. So people should not worry about getting out there and wasting time. You won't. You'll go out there and you're going to have just as much chance at catching keepers and catching numbers, which is different this year in New Jersey. You got to get a 17 to under 18, 2 of those, and then 1 over 18. So it's actually a little bit more difficult it's not difficult, I guess. I had a couple that came in right under. Ray had some that came in at exactly 17. He's like, I'm not risking it. So he threw them back. He's like, it's on the nose. He's like, and then he's tossing it back.
Real quick, Brian, I do not, but it is a future goal.
What?
He was asking if I had a storefront.
Well, you do. You have it on the website.
No, like an actual, like a brick and mortar place you can go.
Gotcha. So Don's in the chat, and he's saying he's fishing afternoon outgoing, preferably on a sunny day. We waited for the sun all freaking day, and it didn't come out till 1 or 2.
Yeah.
Then it was nice, and then you got burned real quick.
Yeah, and then I got cooked, as you can see.
you had the full face shield on too, and
I had that. I got to get a new one. I think the UPF stuff is like washed out of it, but yeah.
I probably could have used one. All right, so John, so you're gonna be the opposite of me. You're gonna be fishing the incoming and looking for the warmer water from outside coming in. I guess the warmer actual water temperature, whereas I'm looking for the warmer sun heated temperature on the outgoing. Ed, where are you on that? Break the tie.
Ooh, I'm gonna stay neutral because I've had good luck on both sides of it. Preferentially would be an outgoing. I've always done better on the outgoing, but I've done well on both sides of the tide. But it also depends on location too. That's a big thing is where I'm fishing it. So
yeah, well, I want to win the argument, and Don and Brian both agree with the outcome.
That's fair enough. There was one other thing that I wanted to mention. The other reason why I do like fishing at incoming as well. Yeah. You have all the bait coming washed in too, and that's another thing. You're having bait come through, get swept in, and it's just going to keep stacking up. So that's another reason why I'm going to fish the incoming as opposed to an outgoing.
On the outgoing, they're leaving and they're already like half sunbaked and tired. So
So you have two things there, and that's a really good point, John. Actually, you both make good points on that. The lower the water gets, the more predictable these spots are that these fish are going to be in. So you have that, but you have that on the incoming when the bait is just getting sent right back in. I just prefer the outgoing because the number of spaces that they can go and actually ambush their prey decreases over time, right? So they could be in this 500-foot area, and then 15 minutes later it's 400, 300, 200. So I like that. However, John, to your point, when they start getting pushed in and it's really low, like you're talking the start of incoming, that absolutely can be really good. That can be really good. But I also look at it like that's kind of like it's the reverse of a funnel, because as it comes in the narrow inlet, it starts spreading out as it comes in. When it's coming out from the outgoing tide, from the sounds and the back channels and the creeks are drying up, or they're drying during the outgoing, it's all funneled together into these more predictable areas. For me, and it's probably just the way that I think. I find it easier, which is probably good to get a couple of guys, one that feels comfortable going with the incoming, one that's good with the outgoing, because then you can throw some ideas off each other and fish more effectively the whole day. I naturally just think that my confidence is on the outgoing, and I think it's easier. But
to add to that, when I was telling you before, when I plan my most, I'm not going to give it away. Most people know where I go. When I plan my most common trip for my most common launch, I will go towards mid to end of incoming tide, and I'll let the tide take me in through the spot that I go to, and then I'll fish slack. And then as I'll fish the outgoing, and it'll pull me back to where I launch.
Right.
So I kind of get a little bit of both. I have noticed I catch more fish on my way back.
Okay, in the comments, and I was waiting for someone to say it, and we've all talked about this. The biggest fish come on slack tide. So you know what? I'm going to revoke my answer and go with Diesel Dick on this one. I like that slack tide. You can't change it.
Nope, you're locked in. Final answer. You did not win a million.
I don't have a problem fishing slack tide. However, it's not. I don't think it's easier. It's not easier.
It's not easier. You have to work for it. You really have to work for it.
You got to think about. So, a flounder is an ambush predator. It needs two things: a place to hide, which is the structure, and it needs to be in a spot where there's going to be a predictable path of food coming to it as bait fish. And when the water is slack, there's nothing brushing those smaller bait fish and the forage off of the sod banks and off of the bridges into a predictable area. So it's almost like mayhem down there. But what they're doing is they're moving to set up for the change. So slack tide in that sense, if you know where they're going to be at the shift of the tide, or as they're moving towards that during the slack tide, I think you can. And look, we have all caught huge fish at slack tide. We all have. And I don't know what it is. I think maybe if like Diesel said, if you got a trolling motor and you got some movement in there when everything else is just kind of like switching directions and everything, it might stand out. Maybe that's, and I don't know, I'm guessing. But it's not going to be more predictable. Maybe they just get more active. Maybe.
Yeah, it's
transitioning to their new spots.
Well, if you think about it too, with it being an ambush predator, it's less strain on them. It's less movement. Bop a bigger one on the head, it goes, oh, look at that. And I don't know. Like you said, there really isn't an answer, but I don't know if it's luck, but it just seems that you get the bigger fish on that slack tide. I don't know what it is.
I mean, I'll fish it. I'll absolutely fish it. I would not put it as my favorite time. But, Diesel's point is bigger fish in that time. I won't argue that. It very well could be. I would say my biggest flounder was not at slack tide. It was actually right at the peak of the tide which is not my favorite time because it's, when the tide's flowing real fast, flounder don't really like that. To your point, John, they have to fight that current, which means they're burning calories just to get calories. They want to have the easiest ambush possible. They don't want to be chasing stuff all over the place. But the biggest one that I caught in the backwaters was right at mid tide in a very, very fast flow. It was actually pretty ridiculous where it was, but yeah, well, slack tide. I mean, it's an interesting thought there. I will say this about today. I saw it up there in the chat as a question. Was there any bait in the water? There was very little that I saw. Now, we did see an osprey pick off a juvenile bunker, and that's probably about all the bait fish I saw. Ed, you saw some up in a very shallow area.
It looked like it, but I could have been the wind blowing water across the flat. I don't know.
It could have been, but there was not. It was not like, well, at this time last year, there was a ton of bait in the water. I mean, it was all over the place, and it was not there. I didn't see anything that would resemble bait at all, except for that bunker in the osprey's talons on the way out in the morning, which is still pretty cool.
That was cool.
So let's talk about. Sorry, so we've got some spots. I mean, look, go deep or go shallow, and I think you go. This is just me. In this early spring with the lower water temperatures, I'm going to go shallow when there's sun, and I'm going to go deep when it's cloudy. And that was our problem today. It was supposed to be sunny, and it didn't get sunny. And we spent, 75% of our time in the clouds. And then as soon as we had to leave, the sun came out, and we were up in the flats.
Out of curiosity, did anybody put any glow down?
No.
And the only reason I'm thinking that is
the water was so clear.
It was
very clean.
Well, the only reason I'm saying that is, the pink is bright, and that was the only thing you were getting a bite on. I'm just wondering if glow would have made a difference.
It might have, but the chartreuse got nothing. Okay. The white got nothing. Chartreuse got nothing. The pink shine got nothing. It was only that really god awful.
I know the color.
Teenage girl about. Pink. The neon pink.
Actually, it's like the color of Diesel's D on his name.
Yeah, in the chat. Yeah.
It might even be worse than that.
I see. I fished a hot pink jig head. I fished a chartreuse jig head. I fished every color combination you can think of. I had like 3 bites, and they were all in deep water. It was like 12 to 15 along that one bank. Other than that,
I caught all of mine either on the big head white and pink, or just on the pink on a bear hook, the pink gulp on the bear hook. But a lot of people are saying you should have used bait. Yeah, should have. I don't like using bait. I'm not going to use bait for the most part because I have nowhere to buy it up here, and nobody's open at the time that I want to get it where we were going. Usually I'll swing by tight lines if it's on the way. But I was unwilling to make that trip all the way out to tight lines for the trip today. Plus, it was pouring rain as I was driving down.
I woke up. I had no idea it rained.
Oh my God! I didn't sleep last night because I'm about 2 hours of good sleep, and that's about it. And all the driving, so I'm a bit whooped. Apparently L used glow today and caught. Shallow and light colors is what Billy is using. So anyway, I would say maybe, look, if we had a tournament next weekend, actually, do we have a tournament next weekend? John, while you're burping?
I have no idea. There's going to be a lot of burps, folks, so I'm sorry. I don't know. I don't think there's anything.
If I had it, here's what I would tell people from my experience on the water today. If I had a tournament next weekend, I would definitely have bait, and I would still bring the gulps because there weren't a lot of light hits, but you know what it was? It was a lot of strong hit once. It didn't do like the flounder does where you drop back and it comes back. They weren't coming back. I only saw a couple come back with solid bites around us. And like I said, there were like 10 boats around us, just drifting in the same areas and, going up to different spots. So it was weird. It wasn't like they were just mouthing it. Like they were striking it and dropping and taking off. So if I had a tournament, I would have a squid strip on a mud minnow, and I would be fishing that, and I would have a gulp also on a second rod, and I would see which one was going to work. I think that's what it would take at this point. Maybe put some, as I think Billy said, put some cheddar oil on there, or maybe it was Don that said it. Put the cheddar oil on there.
I tried that stuff too. That Procure. Nah.
Yeah, I use Procure, the shrimp
one bite.
Procure, and I use cheddar oil, and I didn't none of those after I used them ended up getting anything. It was just the gulp on the regular jig head and the slower jigging. Ed, were you doing the fast John Skinner crazy jigging, or were you going slow?
No, I was slow lift and drop. But yeah, like you said, they were hitting and running. And then me, I'm still in tog mode. So as soon as I feel a bite, I'm setting the hook, and I'm like, that was my problem. I would have caught all those fish today had I like thought about it. And then I'm driving home eating my Wendy's, and that's when it dawned on me.
What'd you get?
I got a double bacon cheeseburger. That's another thing I learned today.
For the last hour on the water, he was like,
I stress
eat. Make me feel better. Yeah,
that's another thing I learned today is I stress eat.
I'm a female when it comes to that. I got to eat chocolate. So
no, these things, don't eat these.
Yeah, no, I'm good, man.
So I'd be interested as we're going through this, anyone in the chat, if you made it out today or even over the weekend before the season opened, or if you're up in New York, it opened on Sunday. What were you seeing as far as locations? Was it an all natural bite, or was there artificial? It just looked like such a good day when we hit the water. The water was clean. Feeling. Yeah, the water was clean. It was colder than it was. I was a little surprised at how cold it was when I put the kayak in and I first looked. I was like, that's about 5 degrees off where I expected it. And then the wind, and it was perfect. There was no wind when we launched, just like it was forecasted. And then the wind came, and it was the wrong direction too. It was supposed to be coming from the northwest, and it ended up coming from the southwest and south. Actually, it was more southwest for most of the day, and that it didn't hurt that much. I mean, it wasn't like it was blowing us all over the place, but it was wind against the tide for the entire morning, which is just not fun. It was actually to the point where I just told Ed, I'm like, screw it, reeling in, and I'm just going straight back to the sound and just pedaled back another mile.
Listen, I almost pulled a creely today.
Yeah.
We've dubbed that. That's the creely. That's the new move. Pack your shit and leave. That's the creely.
Yeah, man. I was going back up the main channel that day. I was like, yeah, there's going to be fish here. And then the wind and the fog decided, nah, we're going to come back off the ocean and just make you say you want to go home.
Yeah, Ed was ready to go. And I said, if you go, I will hold it over you for the rest of your life. And I literally made him stay. I guilted him into staying.
We dubbed it the creely.
Yeah. The creely just canceled the flounder season like we have in the intro. That's it. I'm out. Just cancel the season.
Cancel it, done.
It was frustrating, but it was encouraging though. Like I said, it's different. It's different when you go out there and you can keep it, right? Like previous years, I would fish now and I'd be bottom fishing, and it's really for weak fish. But you get flounder when you're going for weak fish. They're in the same spots, generally speaking. And I'm still using the same high-low type of rig. I got the bucktail on the bottom, and I have a teaser with a gulp on the top. And that's what I'm catching the weak fish on. And every year, I'm catching a lot of flounder at the same time pre-season. And it seems so easy. But then, of course, now that I want to keep some for dinner, it turns into a day like today where it's like, now, I don't know. Maybe it's the pressure of it. Maybe I just fold. I don't know. But it was a difficult day. I'm looking forward to better, though.
I don't think it's a pressure thing because I still got Fluke in the freezer from last year, so it definitely was a pressure because I had nothing to prove, and I got nothing.
John, you keep doing that. I'm going to have to do so much editing for the podcast, man.
I apologize. I cannot control it, and I have no answer why.
Yeah, so we got a question, John, for you. What's your report for the end of tog season?
All right, so when the captain tells you you're leaving at 8:00. You're like, okay, well, I don't have to show up till 7:45. Great. Get a phone call at 7:30. Where are you at? Everyone's waiting on you. Well, you're like, I'm in the parking lot. Just give me a minute. Walk up to the boat and you see Beatrice Soto on there. You know you're not catching your double digit. If anybody knows who she is, she's a slayer when it comes to tog. Plain and simple. First fish she pulled up over the boat had to been, I don't know, 5-pound sea bass. And the second fish that came over the boat she pulled up was an 11.5 male tog. So I didn't get my
all the big fish.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, I got a 6-pound female. I got a couple keepers, but the east wind came in earlier than predicted on Saturday. It was supposed to be like 3:00. It came in at 11. And I mean, those bites were far and few in between. And let me tell you, just be ready for sea bass season. I think we probably could have put a boat limit together of sea bass within an hour if we actually put a high-low clam rig on. And I'm not talking no small sea bass. It was either it went in the cooler or it threw back out because that's just how big they were. You didn't even have to measure them.
Saturday was a bad day. Again, the forecast was not only wrong, it was way wrong. We're going to try some inshore backwater tog, and it was ridiculous. Talked to one guy who had a trolling motor on his kayak, and he said he had been there for hours when we got to the one bridge that he was at. And he said, well, my son caught 2 this morning. We haven't had a bite since. And, we had a few bites during the day, but the wind was just vicious. And people were catching striped bass all over, and none of us really wanted the smaller striped bass that were where we were. So actually, John, at the end of the day, Ray and Mush loaded up and they headed up to the Raritan and they got into it. So they went for the bigger striped bass. I just went home. I was like, yeah, it's enough.
Nah. And I'm going to say this, Matt and Tobiah, beast mode, they put in the overtime. We put in a 12-hour day. So it's not like we didn't try. I talked to Frank actually briefly on the ride back in, and his report was kind of the same thing as mine was, and he was on Fishmonger. So, it wasn't that anybody was doing nothing wrong. It was one of those days. Frank said they had a decent amount of keepers, and I think he said the biggest fish on the boat was 7 pounds, and he caught that on the jig. So
that's a nice fish. Everybody wants the double digits. 7-pounders and is a really nice fish.
No, and even then, like I wasn't pissed about my 6-pound tog. I tagged that, I released it, I was happy about it. But it's a lot of people don't understand though is the philosophy. If you're going for big fish, there's a difference. You're looking strictly for big fish, and I feel that way about Fluke too. It's if you're looking for big fish, you're not going to catch as much fish because you're looking for that certain area that's going to hold the big fish where there's less fish.
Yeah, it's definitely true. Yeah, and I'm glad you brought it back to Fluke. In New Jersey, that's going to be a challenge this year because you only get one. You only get one big Fluke, and you have a choice to make. If you get an 18, are you going to keep it? If you get an 18 and a quarter, if you get a 19, if you get a 20, those are all ones that, even a 21 or a 22, you're like, do I really want to keep this or should I throw it back? First fish of the day is a 22. I don't know. I'm probably tossing that back thinking I'm going to do better. But then if you want to get your limit, you're going to have to fish an entirely different place. I literally this year, I'm going to have to fish different spots than I ever fished before because now it's not all about size. Right? It's not because if you want to keep them, you can't. You can only keep 1 over 18 in New Jersey. Now, if you're in New York, the hat off to you, man. You just keep going out hunting those giants. It's a whole different thing. Delaware, Connecticut, it's all different. If you're in New Jersey, you got a split day. You got to go look for the little teenager flounder, and then you got to look for the big ones. And it's difficult because they are not the same spots. They're absolutely different spots.
No.
But see, I like that though, because it makes it a challenge. It's something different than the same crap we've been doing for the last however long. But then also too, for you guys that are tagging, it gives you something else to do. So even a big fish, you already got, you're over, and you catch a big one, tag it, send it back. There you go.
Yeah. I mean, but here's the thing too.
Tournaments, that's a different story.
And that's where I was just getting at. We're going to have a little bit of issues with that, as far as kayak guys. Now, boats, some boats have live wells. That's going to help you out. But for us guys in the kayak, like you said, Rich, we're going to have that decision to make. First fish is 22 inches, and you don't know how that day is going to pan out because this weather has been horrible this year. Who's to say that forecast is wrong halfway through the day and the wind completely stirs things up, and that 22-inch fish would have got you on the board.
Yeah.
It's going to
look, the boat guys, they'll just cheat.
Oh.
they'll just give it, if Ed pulls in a 22 and a 24, and John, you have an 18 and a 26, you can be sure that you're giving that 26 to Ed, and he's dropping that in on one of his 22. That's the way that I always see boats doing it. Now, I know a lot of guys don't do it that way, but I also know a lot do because they've told me they do. It's like it's a joint cooler, and they're just going to put the best one together, and then usually the person with the biggest fish gets the next two biggest fish. You can't do that on a kayak if you're going to fish ethically and not go throwing back dead fish. And so it's a good point, John, but it really just comes out to it comes down to are you going to roll the dice or not? Because if your first fish at 8:00 in the morning and it's at sunrise, so let's say you're out there at 7, sun's up at 6:30, and you catch your 23, you done for the day? Because all you need then is 2 that are just under 18 to fill out your weight. And those are going to be easy, by the way.
A lot of those smaller fish have some weight on them, though.
Well, and that's the thing. I mean, you might have that saving grace of 17.99. That could be a 2.5 pound fish, which just might save you that just little bit. That guy that caught that 26-inch fish and you caught a 24.5. Yeah, yours might be underweight, but his isn't that much heavier. Every fish is different. So
last year for the Grassy Sound tournament, I had one fish that I could weigh in, and I brought it in, and Joe and I are like, at least we'll weigh something in. And it was heavier than one that was 2 inches longer, but it was also lighter than one that was shorter than it. So actually, one of the two people that were ahead, one of them actually had a shorter fish than I did, and I had a shorter fish than somebody that I was ahead of too. So, I mean, you're right. You get the weight in there.
Years ago, I caught a striper when we were allowed to keep the bigger ones. It was a 47-inch bass. Guess how much it weighed? It was 24 pounds. I mean, that fish should have weighed 35 easy.
Yeah, that's skinny.
It was skinny.
That sounds like a male striper to me.
I'll send you the pictures. I mean, it was years ago, but you never know. You can have the length, but if the weight's not there.
Well, you could do it. What was that one boat that got banned for throwing all the lead weights?
They were stuffing lead into the fish. Yeah.
Yeah. What was it? Is a fountain? The boat?
I don't remember.
3 or 4 outboards. Yeah. I forget what it was. Yeah, they were throwing lead into them. You could have done that. Your skinny fish and artificially.
What was it? It was me, you, and Don last year. We fished that one tournament. You told me the kid weighed in the Fluke, and it was full of ice cubes. When she went to go weigh it and lifted it, all the ice cubes came out.
Yeah.
There's a good question here. Will wanted to know where the bigger Fluke hang out opposed to the smaller ones. Just general. He's not asking for spots, which we wouldn't give you anyway.
Privately.
General structure depth. That's you, not me. It's structure depth, etc.
So, well, there's a couple of questions there, really. So, you got to look at it. Here's the generally speaking, instead of just talking about today, 55 to 60 degree water, right? So, generally speaking, because of the type of predator fish that a flounder is, first of all, they're very aggressive. A lot of people don't think they are. They are. They're extremely aggressive feeders. The big ones will run off the small ones. So you got to think of where is the best structure and where are the currents going to funnel fish and bait into a predictable area within that structure. The structure is there for them to hide, and the current is what's going to funnel the food to them. They don't want to burn calories chasing things. That's not what they do. They're ambush predators. They're not like pelagics, like tuna and mackerel that are just going to go flying all over the place, chasing stuff down. They're waiting for something to come to it. So if you can find that spot where you're going to get the mixture of those two, you're going to have the current coming in, you're going to have really good structure. Usually it's a depth change, it's rocks, it's something like that. Usually the biggest one is going to be set up in the best spot in there, and the other ones are going to be around it, which is why you see in the summers all the boats drifting the middle of the channel, the easy drift, and they're all like, well, the fish are here, we're catching, but they're all shorts. Yeah, they're all shorts because that's where the shorts are pushed. They're pushed out of the good spots, which are the ledges around it. It's the holes in that area. It's the creek mouths. It's the docks. It's the points. And all the little fish get pushed out into the long channels that all these guys on the boats are drifting day in and day out, up and down the same exact territory. Whereas if you just move over to the edge and you look for the drop-offs, you look for the structure, that's where the big fish are. That's also where you're going to get snagged. You know, John, you like to say, if you're not stuck, you're not togging, or what is it?
If you ain't snagging, you ain't togging. And you know what? That comes to fluking.
Yeah.
You know, I totally agree with that. You know, you find yourself a nice hole that's got some rocks or something that's got growth in there. That fish is just waiting for something to come around the corner and just go in there head first. It's going to come out and just take it.
Yeah. So generally speaking, that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for that good structure and the good flow that's going to bring that stuff that, you know, it could be crabs, it could be sand fleas, it could be mud minnows, it could be bunker spot, anything into that predictable area. But take it now to this time of year. And we just got done saying I would look first up on the flats on a sunny day. Well, the flats by term are flat, but they're not really. So what you're looking for are potholes up in the flats. So you're looking for the indentation. So if you're in a kayak, this is where you stand up. You stand up in the kayak, you look for the differences in the color of the water, and you look for the depressions. A pothole could only be 2 or 3 inches deeper than the area around it. It could have a little bit of growth in it. It's still early for a lot of growth to be in the water, but you know, on a grass flat, you just look for the indentations. They'll sit down in that indentation and things sweep over it, and it can come up behind an ambush. So that's where I would look for the bigger ones, you know, at this time of a year. Look for the potholes if you're up on a flat, or again, if the flat is generally 2 feet deep to 4 feet deep, look for the ledge from 2 to 4. Look for the drop from 4 to 6. Look for any hole that's in there. Look for any creek mouth where 2 bodies of water meet, two currents meet, really is what I'm saying, instead of 2 bodies of water, where one current meets another current, all of that kind of thing. Look for the seams of the currents. That's where the big fish are. And the little one, you know, that's the thing about flounder. They are literally all over, but you literally don't want to catch 99% of them, because that's where you end up saying, wow, I had a great day. I caught 40 fish, only 1 keeper. That's because you were not quite in the right spot. Most likely you were in a spot that had a lot of flounder, but you weren't in the spot that had the big flounder. And it was probably really close to where you were. So that's a really long answer. So I apologize, but
that's a great prelude to your course, because all of that and more could be yours if you purchase Rich's course.
Well, that's not why
for
I said
the for the small fee of $49.99.
But
it is in
wait,
the course.
there's more.
It is in the course, but yeah, I should stop talking because it
was
literally
great.
is in there. But that's, you know, I even say in the one lesson, it's one of the first ones. I think this might even be a quote. It's been quite a while since I actually said it, but I think I said, you absolutely need to watch this. This is foundational information. Mm-hmm. And it's basically, there's more to it, but it's basically what I just went through. You have to understand this. You have to have the water moving. It's going to create that fish highway or that food highway, which is going to channel the food towards you. And you have to have the structure. If you don't have the structure, you're not going to have an ambush predator. You know, one of the ways that I've described it before when we've had these conversations is, if you're playing a game and let's say you're playing paintball, right? And you're in a stadium, and John, it's you against me and Ed, right? So it's 3 of us playing, and it's every man for himself. Who's going to hide in the middle of the football field, in the middle of the stadium, and think that they're going to win?
That would be me.
Yeah, right. So nobody, whoever is the weakest of the three and gets pushed into the middle of the field is going to be the dummy sitting in the middle of the field. What person is going to try to set an ambush in the middle of a stadium? And think about it this way. That's the middle of the channel. There is nothing for that flounder to hide behind. There is nothing to really channel that food into that one little concentrated spot to make it easy on that flounder. So if you're playing paintball in a stadium, nobody's on the field. You're up in the press box. You're behind some seats up in the upper levels. You know, you're on the inclines on the sides. You know, you're in the dugout if it's a baseball stadium and you're hiding in there.
I'm in the pretzel stand.
You're in the pretzel stand. No, it's still good cover.
I'll be the dummy in the little divot in the field with camo. You wouldn't see me.
Well, then you're okay. Then you're in a divot, and then you're down in a pothole in the middle of a flat. So it still works, but you're not out in the middle, and that's where a lot of people fish, and that's what it comes down to. It just doesn't make sense. If you want to be successful and you want to ambush things, you're not going to hide out in the open. You just don't do it. So.
All right, we do have a couple good ones I wanted to put up here. Drew with the common sense. I would absolutely 2,000% support that, even if I had to go buy the legitimate.
Well, read it out loud
board.
for people that aren't.
Oh yes, we do a podcast as well. Kayak Fluke tournament should take a page from the Bass Federation kayak tournament and go by total length. Yes, 110%. I agree.
Agreed.
So yeah, Drew, I appreciate you mentioned that. We actually canceled the pink fishing fluke tournament because of the regulations. Hard trying to come up with an idea of how I wanted to go about it for kayak fishermen. So next year, we'll obviously be doing something because I might take this page out of your book. So I definitely appreciate that comment.
Yeah, you could have a regulation board. I think Catch, and there's a couple companies that make them.
Yep.
Regulation board, and then for the tournament, you get a unique. Like an ID number,
tag,
a unique whatever, and it has to be in the photo with the fish.
Yeah,
and then that's that. And
any catch and release tournament, it's not even a new thing. You know, they've been doing it for years, but you don't typically see it for saltwater.
No, you don't, and that's why it never crossed my mind because you don't see it for saltwater. Yeah, we do.
The only reason I don't like it is because then I have to go out and buy a $50 catch board, which doesn't break down. It doesn't fold. Of course, I broke my other one, so I got to get a new one anyway.
I'll buy you one, Rich. I'll buy you one.
They're like $50, man.
It's all good. And then Don had another good one I wanted to touch on. If you want big fluke, use a big live bait. Weeds out the shorts. It definitely does. One of the coolest things to do is late in the season with spot, and you throw a spot overboard. And you light a cigarette, you smoke the cigarette, close the bail, and usually there's a fluke on board.
Yeah, I fished with him a couple times, and he's yelled at me constantly, you got to use the spot to get the big fish. Yeah, I know, Don. I don't like fishing bait. I don't
either, but every once in a while, I got to figure out a way to keep them alive because me and my kids go down to the beach all the time, and we caught like 20 of them, perfect bait size, last summer. But I have no way to keep them, so I got to figure.
You can't keep spot alive unless you have a circular trap for them.
I was thinking like a fish tank of salt water or something. I don't know.
No, just like bunker. They need to be in like a circular pen so they can keep swimming without running into the edges. They're not smart. It's mainly the bunker that do that. They just swim in a circle, and if you put them in a square pen, they'll just keep hitting the sides until they die. So you got to put them in a big circular pen. You'll see them in the fall typically where people start getting them. I will say this. I don't fish with live bait mainly because I'm on a kayak. When I had my boat, I fish with it all the time. And he's absolutely correct. I mean, big fish are going to only be the ones that eat the bigger baits. You know, so if you put a spot down there or an adult bunker, just like with striped bass or large eel, you're likely going to get a larger striper on that. Now, bluefish come in, that cancels everything that you've ever heard. They'll eat anything, they'll just destroy everything. Sharks will too.
I had a bluefish take the tail off a dart spin.
Yeah,
I've never seen them.
Bluefish are assholes, but that's why they're so much fun to catch. But they will eat anything. I agree with the big baits, big fish. And I actually do that with gulp baits. I use, not right now, at this time of the season, I go small. So I'm going with the smallest artificials that I can get away with. But as the season goes on, I'm using the biggest ones that I can find. So, we're talking with Northeast Jig. I'm getting I have those Moabs, the biggest, what are they, 8-inch or something?
Yeah.
Those are the ones that I want to use, even for inshore, because they will absolutely eat something that size. And it's only going to be the biggest ones that are going to do it. But again, that changes this year. I can only do that for one fish. And then I'm on to filling out, personally, I'm going to go for the big fish first. And then
I was just going to ask that. What's going to be your strategy?
Yeah, I want to go for the big fish first. I enjoy the hunt for the big fish more than anything. So, I'm good with one big fish for the day. And I don't care if I catch a bunch of shorts or 17 to 18s, unless I'm trying to get dinner. But I'm going to go for the big fish first, the bigger baits, and then I'll probably scale it back. But I'm still going to use bigger baits. Flounder, as an example, I mean, they have really big mouths. And a small flounder will eat one of those big gulp baits. In the backwaters, I'm using the same ones that they're using offshore, and I'm catching them.
Yep.
You can catch an 18, 19 on those. What size are they? 5-inch, 6-inch?
6-inch, I think. I was throwing one of them today. I had nothing on that.
I don't primarily throw 6-inch. I throw no more than 5, even out in the ocean. 5-inch grub is where I like to sit.
Ocean fish, man, if you're on them, you could put a dog turd on there and they'd eat it. I mean, they're the ocean fish, they don't care. They're not picky at all. When I went out last year, we found a pile of them and it was game on, but I put everything. I put all the junk on there, anything I could find, and we were catching fish. So I think the back bay ones are a little more finicky.
I don't know if I agree with that or disagree with that. I've seen some finicky offshore fish too. But size-wise, I'm using the same size inshore and offshore, except I won't go quite as small offshore. And maybe that's just me. I just figure such wide open spaces, I need something they're going to see and it's going to throw off some vibration. So I'm going to go more aggressive on that kind of stuff. I did want to hit one thing though. We're talking the kickoff for flounder season and some of the differences between, the summer, which is what everybody fishes summer for Fluke. That's what the summer's for. I'm going to say this, the tackle for me is the same. I'm using the same stuff. I used that Runkle, reel today, John. Not a big fan of it. It wasn't quite as bad as I was making it out to be. I owe them a video on that, but it's not a fan of that.
It didn't feel awful. I mean, I've fished with worse. I wouldn't go buy one, but it wasn't.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, it's a $50 reel. I would spend 50 or 60 on it, but I would rather just double the cost and get an Accurist because I think it's more than twice as good. So sorry, Runkle. You wanted me to glow and say all the best things and yes, go out, everybody buy it. No, if you want an introductory, just try out a baitcaster low profile, I would recommend it because it is worth a $50 or $60 investment. Seems like a good reel. It handled the fish that I got today. It handled the tog that I got before on the last trip. But it is not, I don't see that it's going to last the year if I put it through its paces against Fluke. So I'm putting the Accurist back on. I'm going to go with that in a squall. But I'll do a video on that for anyone that's interested in getting into the low profiles and seeing if you like them. It does cast okay. The brakes aren't great on it, but if you're good at casting a bait caster already, I mean, or even a conventional, you don't need brakes. I like to use brakes because I'm not great with a bait caster.
Now, are you talking the dial on the side, or are you talking when you pop the cover off or the knot? There's a clicker on the side.
No, I'm just talking about the magnetic brakes on the casting. So if you just open it up and let it go, the way that you know that the brakes are set correctly, well, if you want to make sure you get no backlash, is the lure once it hits the ground, the line should stop. So it's just enough to let the lure go down and hit the ground, but it doesn't keep pulling line after the lure hits the ground.
Right. The way I set mine on the side where the handle is, there's a a knob that you turn.
Yeah.
That's set when you click the spool. That sets your free spool speed. Then on the other side of the reel is where the magnetic brakes are, and that's magical stuff there.
Yeah, it all depends on what kind of reel you have, because there's only one set on some reels and then there's two on the others. It depends. So anyway, I will do a short video on the Runkle Heroism baitcaster reel for anyone that's interested. I owe it to them. They did send me a free reel, and I think they were planning on it being, and they said, if we like the review, we'll give you another. Well, I'm not in this to get free reels, so I'm going to give you guys the honest opinion. It's not that bad. I mean, it's not like, I don't like it, but I'm also comparing it to $200, I love the pen. I love the Dio Alexa that I used of yours, John. I really love the Accurist, the S3. I absolutely love that thing. And it just doesn't compare. It feels like a freshwater baitcaster. Which is
flip and switch, man. That's the...
There's no flip and switch on this thing. And again, it's a $50, $60 reel, but man, just remember what we were talking about. We're starting in 3 or 4 feet of water, and we're dropping down today to 12 and trying to keep in contact with that lure and keep it right at, or, an inch off the bottom. So I'm constantly looking for the bottom. So what I was doing is I was letting it out, but I was never flipping the bail on it. So I was just kind of my thumb on the spool until it got down to the flat part, and then I locked it. And I was sick of reaching over with my left hand to turn the handle. So, I was able to hold it so I could flick the star drag, which would turn the handle, and it would flip it again. Or I get my thumb under the back and just push it, back up. But it's a pain in the neck, especially when you're spoiled and you use one with a flip and switch like the Accurist or the Pen or the Daiwa. I think the Lexa has it, right?
What's that?
The flip and switch.
It does not.
I thought the Accurist was the only one.
Yeah, I think Quantum's the only one I think it's patent.
No, there's definitely others. I used another one. Sure. Maybe it's a different kind of Accurist. I don't know. But the one that I use for Fluke is the Accurist. The Squall I use for Tog, so I'm not really flipping anything. I'm just dropping it down and holding the bottom.
So I'm going to let Brian know real quick. You're going to love that reel. I have 2 of them. I have one for Toggin. It's 5-4 gear ratio.
What's the question?
No, he said he has a Lexa 300 on the way. No, he's going to love it. And then I have a 6-1 for Fluke, I think. And they both have the power handles on them. So they'll pull in tuna. I mean, these guys use them as tuna reels, but it's nice to have that line, especially if you're in the backwaters. I hooked a couple of rays last year, shark as well, and I never thought I was going to lose line. So I'm just going to say you're going to love the reel.
Yeah. But again, it's Fluke. You don't have to go with these big, I'm not going to knock these really nice reels. The Iowa Lex is good. I love the Pen Squall. I love the Accurist. All you need is an Accurist. It's $120, $130 reel. And you got plenty of drag. You got 18 pounds of drag. You can have an 18-pound flounder, and it's not gonna spool that thing. You got plenty. As long as you have it paired with the right rod, you're in good shape. So I think that's an important point, right? This is not one of those species where you have to go really gear intensive on the reel. You really should have a really good rod. And Ed and I were talking rods today, and we were passing them back and forth when we were catching shorts and just getting bites. And there's definitely differences. I think he likes the rod that I have, but doesn't love it. I like his rod, but I don't love it. Well, you have a Nexus, right? Mine's a custom.
Yeah.
I really like it because it's a thin rod. The handle is definitely too long for me.
Yes, the butt's too long.
But the sensitivity is great. So, as far as gear, I'm looking for something with a sensitive tip, so that and some decent backbone once you get it at the bend in there. And I'm looking for something that's a moderate fast action when I'm vertical jigging. I just like that. You could go fast. I don't think you want extra fast. You want a little bit of bend in there, especially on a flounder or a Fluke. You're okay with another moment before the pressure really digs into the jaw of that thing. I mean, you shouldn't be waiting too long if you're fishing artificials. If you're fishing live baits, well, then you better set it quick. I know it's counter to what people say, but that's how you gut hook them. when you let them eat the whole thing. There were a couple of questions in here. What's the height of your teaser above your bucktail, Don? So for me personally, this is going to sound terrible. It all depends on the length of the leader that I just tied on. No, I'm just kidding. I actually go about 18 inches above, 12 inches to 18 inches. It depends on how deep I'm fishing. Today we were fishing shallow, so it was only about 12 inches. I wanted it real close. And I actually caught about the same number of fish on the teaser that I did on the big head, the bucktail. So I'm going close in shallow waters. When it's deep water, I'll do up to 2 feet. I like to have a 2 foot difference there, especially if you are not scoping the line too much. It gives you a pretty good vertical thing, and you will find that you will catch a lot on that teaser. I know some people just like the single hook, and hey, whatever works for you. But I catch a lot of big fish. My biggest fish was caught on a teaser, and it was totally vertical jigging at the time. It's on video. You can go back and check it out. It's totally vertical, and I caught that thing on the teaser, and it was about 2 feet above the bucktail.
Now, real quick on the teaser, do you notice that even when you catch a smaller fish, it feels way bigger than it is when you catch them on the teaser?
I think it's because you had the weight of the bucktail swinging weird on the side. You know what I mean?
Have you noticed that? Because I have.
I think I feel the head shakes more. It's a good point. And actually, one of the guys on the boat, on one of the boats next to us today, it looked like he had a big fish, and he was sure he had a big fish, and he looked and he's like, forgot it, put the net down. And it was on the teaser. So, yeah. It looked like a big fish, though, that he had. I haven't noticed that, but I think it might be because you have the weight of the bucktail swinging. So it adds a little something to that head shake.
But every time I've caught them on the teaser, they've been short, but they always feel like they're, 20 plus.
Well, at least you get the good fight out of it. Let's see.
Here's one from Diesel about our shirts. He wants to know.
The one that you're
available.
wearing.
Yes, the team shirt.
Yeah, the Fat Dad Fishing Team shirt. So those actually right now, he wants to know where to buy them. So those aren't for sale right now.
Gotta be on the team, bro.
So actually, well, yeah, I mean, we do just because I got a limited number of them. I got them just for the guys that were fishing the tournaments together. But I actually have some extras. But I only have. This is the thing that's funny. There was an error in the order, so I have extras, but they're all large. So there aren't too many fat dads that fit in large shirts. Diesel, if you wear a large, I'll be happy to bring one down and meet you on the water sometime and just give it to you. If people really want them, we could sell them. I know the supplier who made it, we have talked about getting something together and putting more of her products as a manufacturer for the apparel items. So like this shirt right here, I love this shirt. And I think she actually has one that's probably even better quality than this. John, you like the shirt. You're wearing it too, yeah.
Why didn't you call me and tell me what shirt you were wearing? Now we look like dicks wearing the same shirt.
Well, I was on the water with my sweatshirt, and and I had flounder on it. So I got home and showered. I didn't want to wear it on the stream tonight and stink myself up after just getting a shower. So yeah, so Diesel, it's not available right now, but yeah, James, I wish I had an XL to give you. I literally only have larges. That's it, and I'll give them to you if you guys want them. But I don't have any other sizes right now.
You should look into getting them made without the team under it, because
No, everybody here is on the team, man. Anybody who shows up is on the team. It's all good. It's all good. All right, I'll look at if people really want them. Let me know. If you really want them, let me know. Send me an email, rich@fatdadfishing.com. I can talk with her and we can get something set up so you can buy them. The question, were we using the new Fat Dad bucktails? I was using them and I was catching them. I was using the big head ones. I've used the Fluke tail, and I did well on those last year. I was using those as prototypes before they were even out, and I did really well on those. But I was using the big heads, which are the newer ones, and that's what I was catching them on today. Again, it was about 50-50 split, 50% on the bare hook with the Gulp, and about 50% including the keeper on the big head. It was a 3/4 ounce, and I think it was the pink and white that I was using today. So if you want those, I don't make any money on it, by the way. So I'm just telling you because it's literally what I use and what Ed and I kind of work together to design. I think they work awesome. Ed's the only one that makes them. So check out Captain Hank's if you really want one of those. I definitely recommend them. And that's all I use. I mean, I just had an order delivered to me today on the water by Ed. I had a big order of them that should
Quite
get
a
me
large
through.
order.
Yeah, should get me through a few weeks.
Find the original order. The first
For
ones
full
I gave
disclosure, I order a lot of stuff from Ed because I keep losing it in my garage. I have a lot of these bucktails, and I don't know where they are. I know I have them. I mean, I just bought some 2 weeks ago. Haven't even gone fluke fishing, and I didn't have any.
Yeah, I think you got. I gave you 6. That was the original ones. You got the first 6.
Yeah.
So there's a question here from Brian Super Mag that you may want to look into.
Okay.
Yeah, this is actually a very good question.
I'm happy to answer this one. All right. So basically, the question is: when do you stop using a dry or semi-dry suit? Is there a cutoff temperature situation? Okay. Hold on one sec. I have to cough. If I can mute myself here. Ow, that one actually hurt. All right. So I want to make sure that I do this question justice. So Brian, there is a rule called the rule of 120, which is the combination of the water temperature and the air temperature. If it equals 120, you don't need a wetsuit or a dry suit. If it's below 120, you do. That's bullshit. It is absolute bullshit. Don't listen to that. It's false. You could use that as a rule if you want to use an excuse to go out on the water without a dry suit or a wetsuit. Today, as an example, it was pretty warm, but the water was in the mid 50s to upper 50s. So to me, where I did not wear my dry suit. I had it. I brought it out. I looked at it and I was like, should I wear this? And he just looked at me. He's like, nah. And I was like, you're probably right, because the air temperature was okay, but really it comes down to the water temperature. 55-degree water is cold, but it ain't that cold. I used to go surfing in that with a spring suit or just with the surf top. You know, you can last for quite a while in there, and we were fishing backwaters. So today in the backwaters, in, you know, just a few feet of water, real close to shore, I did not wear my dry suit. Normally, I always wear it in colder temperatures. If I were going offshore today, let's say I was going out in the Raritan Bay, I would have put it on.
Yeah, because I think where we were, you could just stand up.
Well, yeah.
There's quite a few spots where you just stand.
Or gone to one of the 10 boats that were going by and just say, hey, guys, lend me a hand.
Right.
Those guys were so nice. They probably would have all come over to help.
I'll tell you what, not to interrupt, but those guys were the nicest boaters I've ever fished around ever.
Yeah. And I don't want to say that where, because I don't, because it's not a big area. And I don't want everyone like knowing where we were, even though it wasn't the best of days. But those guys know who we are because we were all talking, and many of them now know who we are. And we won't burn your spot, but yeah, they were awesome. So if I were going offshore though, and it was 55-degree water, I would still be wearing that dry suit. And the thing is this: you have the potential of being in the water for much longer when you're offshore. But the big thing is, let's go back to that rule of 120. If it's 100 degrees out and the water's 20 degrees, technically you don't need to have, or it's 21 degrees, you technically, according to that rule, don't need to wear a wetsuit or a dry suit. Well, if you fall in 20-degree water, you probably have a couple minutes and then you're done. I mean, you're literally done. So don't use that rule. You just got to look at it from the practical standpoint. Now, it's a general, if you want to do it generally, okay. But really, I only look at the water temperature for most of the year. Now, if it's 20 degrees out and it's 70-degree water, guess what? I'm fine. Because if I fall into 70-degree water, I'm just going to stay as low in the water as possible to stay 70 degrees.
Just keep your head up.
Yeah, it's like a hot tub in winter. It could be snowing, but if you're in a hot tub, who cares? So for me personally, it's all about the water temperature. You just got your Cocotat semi-dry. And by the way, the difference between a semi-dry and a dry is not all that different. It's essentially the same thing. Yeah, it's neoprene versus vinyl or whatever gaskets. So you can get little trickles of water in there, or latex versus neoprene. You can get trickles of water in there. Whether you have a dry suit or a semi-dry suit, unless it's a dive suit, you're probably still going to get water in there somewhere, a little bit at least. But I would wear it offshore right now. 55 degrees to me in the backwaters when I'm just a couple feet from shore. I'm not overly concerned about it, but I am wearing the life jacket the entire time.
Hey, Brian, if you are deciding to go out within the next couple of days, just shoot me a message if I can get my truck done, if I get the parts in time. I'm aiming for Friday. Weather isn't looking too great, but if I can get my truck done by Thursday, I might be heading down more south. So just shoot me a message on Facebook or Instagram.
Oh, yeah, I've seen the comment. Okay. All right. Yeah, so hopefully that answers that question. Are there any other things that we should cover? Any other questions before we wrap this one up?
There was one I saw, but we already addressed it for Will. He was asking about outgoing tide for Fluke. We addressed that earlier. So if you re-listen, you'll catch up on that.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I don't want to go into a long explanation for everybody. Just so you know, also, this will be out on the podcast. It'll be cleaned up. It'll be a much more digestible format on Thursday morning. So if you guys haven't checked it out, the podcast actually sounds pretty good. It is edited and everything like that, but it's on all the major podcast platforms. And I'm just telling everybody that because I know I personally, there were several live streams that I watch, but I don't watch. I just kind of turn it on and listen. And the problem I have is on YouTube, if I close my phone, it has to keep the video playing. So as soon as that happens, it stops. So you can't just get the audio. So you can get the audio only if you want to wait till Thursday. If you can only listen to part of it or you miss part of it, it might just be easier to do the podcast. But it's on Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, Google, all of those. So you can check it out over there.
Thank you, Brian. I just saw it come through.
You got an order?
Yes, he put an order in.
Very good. Very good. All right. So we have to figure out what we are doing for next week's show. So we don't have that yet. We are going to have Philly Girl Fishing coming on the 16th. So she's going to come up. We're going to be talking about charter and party boat fishing. For those that haven't seen her YouTube channel, she's all over the charter boats and the party boats. And I think everybody knows her on these boats, and she does a really good job on them. So we figured it would be a good time for those that haven't gone out on a lot of party boats, myself included. I'm a relatively inexperienced party boat guy. She's going to come on and kind of go on the ins and outs on the 16th, but we still have to figure out what we're doing next week. So we'll figure that out this week and we'll put that up. And I think that covers us, man. I mean, it's just, man, it's
a day of learning.
It was a day of learning for everybody. Yeah. And you know what? One thing that you did say today, Ed, was a really good point. If we had just taken the boat instead of the kayaks, it would have been a different day. Yeah. Because we would have been churning and burning to different locations. And sometimes when you're in the kayak, that's just not an option. You know, we got to go 2 miles into the current just to get out, and then you got another 2 miles to the next spot. That's a problem. Whereas today, the guys in the boats, you know, they were able to fly up there at 30 miles an hour, and you know they're changing spots real quick. Not that they all did great.
The weather kind of misled us too. Had we known that it was going to be like this, yes, I would have hooked the boat up and we'd have drug it down. But you know, the weather definitely did not play in our favor for kayaks.
Yeah. All right. I can't go without addressing this one last comment here. Let me get this. Ed was doing the comments, so I wasn't really ready for it.
Which one you got?
Here it is on screen.
KB.
I know I should buy a dry suit, but unfortunately I spent my money elsewhere. On the kayak, is it safe to wear light waders with a tight belt on a kayak? Okay. Here's the truth. People will tell you if you fall in from a kayak with waders on, it'll sink you. It's 100% false. It will not sink you. You will become neutrally buoyant. It does nothing. However, If you don't have a tight belt on there and you get any current into the top of those waders, it will feel like it'll pull your waders, which is going to pull you. So the biggest problem with waders on a kayak is if you go in, tight belt or not, you're going to start getting water in there. And the last thing that most of us want is extra weight when trying to self-rescue into a kayak. So think about how much water can fit in your waders and how much that weighs, 10, 15 gallons of water in there. Now try to climb back in with, for me, my 250 plus weight.
Yeah,
plus,
I think water's 7 or 9 pounds a gallon. So
yeah, I mean, it's not
worth
advisable.
It. Put it that way.
It's not. So you have to take them off in order to get back in. And I know this from personal experience. We used to go out long time ago and we would go out and we would wear waders. We'd go out to the side banks on the kayaks and we would just jump in with the waders on and just take them off in the water. And then we'd get back in because you couldn't. And this is when I was in my 20s in outstanding physical shape, could swim a mile, no problem without breaking a sweat, always in the water. But, me, like nearly 50 years old, 250 plus pounds. No, don't do it because you're not going to get back in that kayak. Now, if you're Mike Warrener, he might be able to get back in if he's wearing waders. But
I wouldn't even put that out there. I wouldn't even recommend it. I would rather take my chances. I don't own a dry suit. I would rather take my chances in the water trying to swim to a bank than try to get back into a kayak wearing waders.
Well, you should try in the summer. Go in the water in a pool with waders on and see how easy it is to get them off. It's not. Especially
I have the neoprene. I have neoprene ones, and they're like skin tight.
Well, so neoprene will also help you float too, by the way. You got to test it out with your waders. I wouldn't do it because you can't get back in if you get water in it, but some neoprene waders will actually help you to float. Again, they're neutrally buoyant at the worst, but if you get any current in there, it could be a problem. So I wouldn't do it. Wouldn't recommend it. Never will. But I will always tell people, stop saying it'll sink you. It absolutely does not sink you. It's science. It's neutrally buoyant. Water is not heavier than water. Water is the same weight as water. And that's all. There's no difference between the water in the waders and the water outside the waders. But if you get any current in there, it'll start to pull. It's like a balloon. It's like a parachute. I mean, so.
I mean, I don't wear a dry suit, but then again, I don't fish areas where I feel I would even need a dry suit or temperatures that I feel like I would need a dry suit. I mean, you're in a kayak. I mean, you got to do a little bit of risk assessment there. Is a fish worth, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Is it worth going out in a kayak in those temperatures that you need a dry suit or hopping on somebody's boat? I mean, I'm sure everybody in the chat, everybody I know everybody that's got boats. So if I really want to fish that bad, and there's head boats, so you can jump on one of them.
With that said, I wear a dry suit because I do fish those temperatures.
Right. That's what you do. That's your thing. But for me, my risk versus reward, not so much.
Yeah. So again, I wouldn't recommend using the light waders, but it's your choice. I just recommend if you really want to jump in a pool with them, try to take them off, try to get out with them filled with water, just so you know what you're getting into. I will tell you this. I actually took a header. Where was it? Was it Belmar? It was one of those beaches where it's just like straight down and then you have the break, right? The shore break right there. And it was in the middle of winter and I'm wearing my waders and the sand came out from under my feet when I'm surf fishing. And I end up going face first out into the water. So as I stand up, the water comes down. Now I have the belt around my chest, but water still gets in there. And it was so heavy. It was damn near impossible to just crawl out of the water. And I was only about a foot or two in, and it just kept getting pounded. As the waves came over, they kept filling the waders, and it was so heavy. It was ridiculous. The guy next to me is like, "You need help?" I was like, "Yep." So he comes running over, and I was lucky. I mean, I still got up without him, but he just helped me like turn around. I sat down, and I had to take the waders off, and then they were absolutely filled with water. So don't mess around with the currents and the waders. Just be really, really, really careful. It's better to not go out if you're not sure about it, but go ahead and test it in a pool and make sure that you do it smart though. Don't just jump in the deep end of a pool with waders on. jump in the shallow end with people there so that you're not going to drown. But you'll see it is not, I don't care if you have a belt on your chest. If the water gets in there, and it gets heavy and it gets difficult to move. So
look, we got an open invite on James's boat anytime.
James, thank you. And you know
Thank
what?
you,
that goes back the other way. If you ever want to come out kayak fishing with us, give it a shot. More than welcome to. We have the other kayak. So
I was gonna say,
yeah, we're
nobody
trying
wants
to get
be on your kayak, John.
yeah,
that's fine.
weird.
Whatever.
That's kind of weird.
yeah. He's not
I
going to
forgot you
sit
had
on
the
that.
second one.
You could sit on the front of my kayak. So we are trying to get, we had mentioned this at the beginning of the year. Ed and I had talked about this. We want to get more people together, more on the water time with everybody. And, we put it out before this, now opening day is on a Monday. 99% of people are working. So not a lot of people go, but Ray went. And, we're going to be pretty public about not all, but some of the fishing trips that we're taking, and just kind of say, hey, open invite. We're not telling you that we're guiding you anywhere. We're not guaranteeing you any fish. If you just want to hit the water with us, I take no blame if you catch nothing. I take no credit if you catch a world record. We'll just tell you every once in a while when we're going. And if you want to go, we'll just tell you where we're going to meet and what time, and show up if you want to. But I think it's a lot of fun when we do that. So
yeah, I'd like to do that. I'd like to get everybody together and do a giant flotilla of fat dads.
Yeah.
I guess we could maybe get everybody, whoever's not in the Fat Dad Facebook, on the Facebook page. Maybe that's where it's probably the best way to get that kind of info out quick.
Yeah.
Maybe Captain Hanks, either or both.
Both. And throw in Creeley custom rods too, if you want to see some cool rods getting made.
Yeah, those new marble rods are sweet.
Yeah, that's actually one of the projects right now, is a marbling project. So
John's wrapping up his headset. He's got to get to work.
No, I'm just taking it off because I'm sweating a little bit.
Oh, okay. So participation trophy. Not everybody has Facebook. That is correct. If you want to connect on Facebook, you can look for Fat Dad Fishing on Instagram, fat.dad.fishing. Email. That's why I always give out my email, because everybody does have email. rich@fatdadfishing.com. And I'll be honest, I'm not going to say it right now, but I actually get as many texts from people as I do emails, and it's a lot. So, happy to text, give me a call, whatever. Yeah, I mean, that's just kind of how it turns out. Now, sometimes I forget who I'm talking to.
Well, here, let's
Wait,
do this. Let's plan a date. We'll plan a date because I guess not everybody's on the social media. Plan a date. We'll announce it on one of the live streams, and then, if we do cancel last minute, sorry.
Yeah, but we're gonna have to decide. Well, I mean, we're not gonna rent a boat, right?
No, kayak day. A kayak
day. Not everyone has a kayak, but it looks like a bunch of people in here do.
Yeah, but you know what? Even the guys with skiffs and whatnot, there's a lot of guys on this page here too have skiffs. Hey.
Well, like Diesel. Yeah, I see Diesel out on the water.
Diesel, if I'm not mistaken, James, you have a skiff as well. Yeah, and I think there's a couple other folks that have skiffs. Just
it'd be a back bay thing. We can
exactly
figure out a meet spot and whatever.
We'll do our own little tournament. We'll give away a free large shirt.
And a used bucktail.
A used bucktail.
We'll make a trophy or something.
One free Junior Frosty from Wendy's. That's their place.
You got a coupon for that, though, right?
If we ever did something like that, we'd have to make a trophy with somebody with just like a big belly. It would be like a big fat dad Buddha belly trophy.
Oh, it would have to be totally outrageous. It would have to be.
Yeah. All right. Well, listen. Let's wrap this up so that people can get back to their real lives. Everybody, thanks for stopping by. We'll announce the next topic sometime towards the end of this week. Not sure if we're going to have a guest on or not. We have several guests. We just don't have the dates all ironed out, and life has been kind of crazy for the three of us. So it's been kind of tough to get things pulled together. But we will get our act together. We'll get our shit together before next week. We'll have it posted. John won't. I will. I'll get it together before next week. So with that, guys, everyone get out there and get on the water. Fluke season is open pretty much I think it's the whole coast now at this point, at least for our viewers, New York, New Jersey, and Delaware, which is where most of the viewers are from and the subscribers to this channel. So get out there, get on the water, get some tight lines, and we will check you next time. Thanks.
All right, guys, take care.
See ya.
Later.